Hey guys, Wade Willis here for my playthrough of Umineko. I believe this is part 4 of chapter 3. Things have really picked up. We got so much information with things that happened in Beatrice's past, where we saw that she was kind of like imprisoned by Kinzo. Just so much info, and it was actually one of my favorite episodes, period, that I've done. Just because of I didn't expect this flood of information, whether it's true or just illusions for us, we don't know yet, but it was pretty interesting, and I am really excited to see where we go from here. And guys, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for tons of other When They Cry content. Trying to get to 2,000 subscribers, and I'm going to be doing reviews on the original Higurashi arcs coming up. So I'm working on one video for one of the arcs, and that should be out probably in the next few days too. And I will be having more of these playthroughs as well.
ミルクだけでいいぜ。あと、お茶菓子も欲しいな。
クッキーが焼けるには、まだ時間がかかりますよ。
Don't you have magic, homie?
チャカの代わりがあるって言ったぜ。
かしこまりました。ご清聴をいただけるのでしたら、続きをお話しいたします。
ホムンクルスがなんとかって言
Oh,
ったな。
yeah, okay.
一応は知ってるぜ。
He's a fan of Full Metal Alchemist then?
あれだろ？錬金術だかで作り出せ。人造人間のことだろ？
はい。お嬢様の魂は、ホムンクルスに閉じ込められ、再び赤子となって生を受け、この世にしかし、赤子でございますから。金蔵様が愛を語ろうとも、それは無駄なことでございます。
まさか。じい様はその赤ん坊をこの隠し屋敷に。同じ年に成長するまで閉じ込めたってのか。
はい。
What the hell?
そのまさかでございます。
That's...
しかし、魂は同じといえど、人間の魂はその器に強く影響を受けます。
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that I'm probably not the only person that thinks that's a bit creepy.
お嬢様は、かつての記憶をすべて失われ、ごく普通の人間の少女として成長されました。
それが、そこのガーデンチェアに座ってるベアートだってのか？
はい。その通りでございます。まさに、瓜二つに成長なされました。
What the
しかし、魔女としての力は持ち合わせておりません。
Well, that makes it
あ
easier.
くまでも、人間としてのお嬢様なのです。
Way easier for Kinzo to control. Beato, who was sitting in the garden chair, looking up at the sky, voiced that same question again. She asked who she was. The meaning of those words were finally starting to click. She couldn't understand why she was living there all locked up. Grandfather had seized Beatrice's soul and shut it into a body of flesh, and then shut that up in a hidden mansion. However, since she had lived there since the time of her birth, she couldn't even understand who she was, or why she lived shut up in there. Damn, that's sad as hell. Wait. Who would take such a stupid story seriously? Why don't I change my interpretation? In other words, couldn't it be something like this? Grandfather met Beatrice, then he fell in love with her and courted her, but she didn't accept him. And then he flew into a rage and shut her up inside this hidden mansion. Beatrice tried to escape, but no matter what she did, she couldn't succeed. So she finally chose her own death. And then, no. Maybe there was a girl who looked just like Beatrice. No, a baby. Grandfather raised the child with care, but maybe he didn't view this child as his daughter. The soul was once again shut up in a cage of flesh. Those words probably meant that he didn't view this kid as her child, but as her reincarnation. Maybe that's what it meant. If you interpret it that way, even a story this weird might make little sense. No. This might be some bullshit Beato cooked up to confuse me. As if I could accept any of this. In the first place, Kuwadorian, who was it? There's no proof whatsoever that a hidden mansion actually existed. Couldn't this be something that she just fabricated on the spot? Yeah, but the...
六軒島の森の中には、
Oh.
クワドリアンという隠し屋敷が実在します。
Oh, damn. Hold on, gotta write that down. Wow. I did not expect Roanoke to come out. Yo, how pissed am I gonna be if all this red stuff is, like, not actually true and I've been writing this shit down. Now, what he needs to find out is how to get to the mansion.
それが今、話をしていた場所です。
赤
Roanoke used the red to say that Kuwadorian actually existed. Does that mean the same thing as red Beato used?
これでも悪魔の端くれでございますので、お嬢様には内緒にしてくださいね。
Beato knew I would try to trip her up and had grown extremely cautious when using red. To think that Roanoke could also use the red. However, it was the red of a crafty man. I didn't know how far I could accept it, but anyway, I might be able to get some hint out of it.
このクワドリアンの庭でくつろいでるベアトとさっきのじい様との会話は真実なのか？
はい、真実です。かつて実際にこの場所でお二人はこのような会話をなされました。
Wow, okay. Like that is kind of wishy-washy. Convo. Like who she is before. Alright. Well, he's going gunslinging with this red right now.
助かるぜ。さらに赤で頼む。あいつ、ホムンクルスから生まれたなんて言いやがったが、そんな非科学的な魔法的存在、実在するのか？
その問いかけにはお答えできません。理由は、ステイルメイトになるからでございます。
ステイルメイト？なんだそりゃ。
Oh, a homunculus doesn't count as a human or a witch, right? So that's just like a...
チェスの用語で、千日手のパーペチュアルと同様に、それ以上のゲーム進行が不可能になる宣言です。これは、千日手とは正反対で、指し手がなくなる、ある種の手詰まりの状態を指します。パーペチュアルに同じで、チェスではこれを引き分けにしております。ただし、お嬢様とバトラ様のゲームでは引き分けがございません。ですので、ステイルメイトになる質問には赤でお答えすることができないのです。
Yeah, why would answering if a homunculus can exist cause a stalemate? Maybe all of his kids are homunculuses?
よくわからねえこと言って煙に巻いてるが。つまり、ホムンクルスなんて魔法的存在が実在するって、赤で言えないからごまかしてるだけなんだろ？
仮に私が赤で魔女は実在すると言ったら、バトラ様はどういたしますか？
それを信じるか信じないかで、俺たちは大喧嘩してるんじゃねえかよ。それを言われちまったら、身も蓋もないぜ。ゲームオーバーだ。
魔女は存在すると赤で申し上げたなら、バトラ様には反論のよ。しかしバトラ様はその理由が示されない以上、それを受け入れないでしょう。しかし赤で語られる以上、反論の余地もなく証拠も示されない。この場合バトラ様は敗北を認められないにもかかわらず、反論の手がなく手詰まりとなってしまいます。チェックメイトされていないにもかかわらず、次なる指し手が存在しない。バトラ様が次の一手を打てない以上、お嬢様に手番が回ってくることはなく、ゲームはそこで永遠に止まってしまう。その結果、お嬢様があなたを屈服させることもできない。これが手詰まりの状態です。それを回避するため、このような形になるご質問には赤でお答えすることができないのです。
早い話が、身も蓋もない質問は禁止だと、そう言いたいわけだな。まあ、そりゃそうだよな。赤で魔女は実在するって言われちまったら、俺は鼻からお手上げだぜ。
ご理解いただけて助かります。他の形の質問でしたら、ご協力できるかと思いますよ。
奴がはぐらかした副賞要求には答えられるか？この島の人数だ。
He ain't gonna do that one either.
お嬢様が保留されている副賞要求にも、もちろん答えられませんよ。お嬢様の家具でございますので、出過ぎた真似はできかねます。
Ronov made an exaggerated gesture trying to act like a loyal retainer. This guy's so shameless. I love Ronov.
一瞬でも使えるやつと思ったのによ。
I mean...
諦めて他の質問を探すか。そうだ。大事なことを確認するのを忘れてた。これはベアとの思い出話なんだろ？いつの話なんだ？まさか現在ってことはないだろ。
That's a great question.
はい、ここは1967年の世界。
The world of... So that's about 20 years ago. Interesting.
19年前の世界
19
で
years
ございます。
previous. How old is Jessica? See, I was thinking maybe it was Rosa or something. Like, I don't know. Like, it didn't make... But Jessica actually is blonde, so that would perhaps make more sense. I would be completely surprised if... Oh, wait. Never mind. That makes no sense. I wonder... Let's try rearranging the story again. I wonder if it couldn't be something like this. Grandfather fell in unrequited love with a person called Beatrice. Then he could find her in this hidden mansion and continue to court her. But she was stubborn and didn't give in. Eventually she grew pessimistic about being able to escape from here, and probably committed suicide. And then her soul was put into a homunculus and... No. If I accept that, it's the same as accepting the witch. Not necessarily. Oh, well, because the magic would exist. I can interpret that part like this. She probably had a posthumous daughter. Grandfather must have believed that her soul had been placed in a new physical body, and might have thought that the child was a reincarnation of Beatrice. That means that, at least 19 years ago, Beato existed on this island as the 19th person.
混乱してきたぜ。
Yeah, me too, homie.
いずれにせよ、憶測の域を出ない。確実に赤で言えることは、1967年の六軒島の隠し屋
That's
敷
actually really good
人間として
information,
の
though.
ベアトリーチェが存在した。それだけだ。
その通りでございます。1967年の六軒島の隠し屋敷に、
Oh,
人間としてのベアトリーチェ様が存在した。
ああ、サンキュー。助かるぜ。
that does help a lot.
おめでとうございます。これでバトラ様の19人目の駒は、その存在がはっきりしました。バトラ様が熱望された18人以外に罪をなすりつけられる19人目の人間。いかなる罪をもなすりつけることのできる生贄の羊。それがお嬢様とは実に愉快。
That is pretty funny. Ronov laughed indiscreetly. Somehow I didn't like how he put that, so I didn't feel like laughing along with him.
そうだ。ローザおばさんは言った。ベアトリーチェは死んだ。
Oh yeah.
私が殺した？どういう意味なんだ？
それは私の口から語るよりも、実際
Oh,
に
sweet.
顛末を少々時計を進めましょう。
I totally forgot about that. Ronov pulled a stylish pocket watch from his pocket and touched the watch stem. As soon as he did, I saw golden butterflies gather behind his back and take the form of a person. What the Was it Beato? I quickly realized that it was someone else. Oh, nice. It was her, the oldest sister of the Seven Stakes, who loved tormenting me more than her 3 meals a day. If I don't consider myself lucky to see that sexy ass, I won't be able to keep up with their torture game.
ロノウェ様、まだこちらにおられましたか。ベアトリーチェ様が至急お呼びです。
はて、至急のどのようなご用やら、少々バトラ様とのおしゃべりが過ぎたようですね。それではバトラ様、私めはこれでどうか引き続きお嬢様とのゲームをお楽しみください。
へい。せいぜい楽しむぜ。あんたはベアトより話が弾むからな。赤も気前よく使ってくれるしよ。ぜひまたおしゃべりに来いよな。
I love that they're like trying to kill each other like in the game, and then they're like like all chummy and stuff.
私めもこう見えてもお嬢様の家具。お嬢様が望まぬことはできませんよ。私が語った赤は本来ならお嬢様が自らの口で語るべきもの。へそを曲げてしまわれたお嬢様に代わって赤き真実を披露したに過ぎません。
やっぱあれへそを曲げてたよな。
These guys. Seeing me and Rono incomprehensibly hitting it off, that steak Nichan cocked her head curiously.
ロノウェ様、ベアトリーチェ様をお待たせしております。お急ぎを。
ええ、直ちに参ります。それではバトラ様、後ほど。ようやく仲良くなれてきましたね。やはり良い友人になれる気がします。
ベアトの陰口仲間ってことならな。
ロノウェ様。
はいはい。それでは 失礼いたします。
Maybe she didn't like seeing him act so friendly with me, or maybe she really had been told to hurry. When the steak Nichan let out a thunderous cry, Ronov laughed frivolously and disappeared as if running away.
Huh. 煉獄の七杭が長女のこの私が、この程度の用事で呼びつけられるなんて。ベアトリーチェ様も、この程度なら他の暇そうな妹たちに言いつければいいのに。
何をカリカリしてんだよ、姉ちゃん。腹減ってんなら、クッキーでも食えよ。
He's an adore.
最後の一枚をくれてやるぜ。
気が利くじゃない。なら、一ついただこうかしら。
I casually pushed a stack plate with the last remaining cookie over to her.
ありがとう。
What? As though coming as a period at the end of the sentence, a sharp sound pierced the table. The nails of the 3 fingers that extended grew sharp and pierced the space between my fingers on the hand that was pushing the plate, missing them by a hair breadth. It had happened in an instant, so for a while I didn't even realize that her fingernails had grown. The tips of those sharp nails were like blades with a red manicure. The space between the bases of my fingers hurt sharply. Those razor-like blades had been purged into the table as a hair's breadth away from the back of my hand and fingers. Because of those 3 braids, I was unable to even let my careless right hand tremble, and by now all I could do was let a bead of cold sweat drip down.
ひゅー。姉ちゃん、そろそろ爪を切った方がいいぜ。
ルシファーよ。それが誇り高き私の名。ベアトリーチェ様にお仕えする名誉ある家具、煉獄の七杭が長女。他の面汚しな愚昧どもとはわけが違うの。それに見合った敬意を示さないと、後悔することになる。
どう後悔するんだか。俺には見当もつかねえぜ。
バカな子ね。そんなに遊んでほしいの？そんなに忘れられないの？私の悔いを思いっきり奥の奥までねじ込んで、たっぷりえぐって楽しませてあげるわよ。
Dang, she's a bad bitch.
くそったれ。いつか押し倒して、同じセリフを言ってやるぜ。
Oh.
あらそう？
Battler?
楽しみにしてるわね。
Did she just kill him? Rosa eventually regained her calm. The men wanted to hurry her into talking faster, but Kyrie intervened. If something like that really had happened, then it would have been a terrible experience that Rosa wouldn't want to remember. After taking several deep breaths with her hand over her chest, it seemed that she had more or less resolved herself to talk.
あれはいくつの時だったのかしら。多分、中学生か。よく覚えてない。とにかく、そのくらいの頃だったと思うわ。
ってことは、だいたい20年くらい前ってとこか。
Okay.
あの頃の私は、あまり成績が良くなくて、私なりに努力していたつもりだったんだけど、お母様の期待には全然応えられなくて。
母上はローザにも随分厳しかったな。当時は同情していたよ。
Oh, I'm sure you did, Kraus.
陰口ばっかだったくせに、よく言うわね。
予算かエヴァ。
それで、ローザさんはどこでベアトリーチェに会ったんや？
秀吉さん、今はせかしてはダメよ。
No, please do. I don't want to hear everyone say not to rush. Let's get to the
楽に
meat and
話して。
potatoes.
ありがとう。あれは、お母様に特にひどく叱られた日よ。
Oh, thank God. I was like, I don't want to hear her. Oh, even though my tutor had promised to keep it a secret, apparently they told my mother about how I had complained. Mother scolded me brutally, saying my name was a disgrace to the Ushiromiya family. Of course, I was doing the best I could, but I had none of Krause's dignity. I couldn't get excellent grades like Ava. I had no leadership abilities like Rudolph. I never stood out, I didn't particularly excel at anything, and I found myself asking why I had been born into the Ushiromiya family. I began to question more and more why I'd even been born at all. This is what happened on that day. I experienced my mind going blank for the first time. For the first time in my life, I realized that in addition to facing or surrendering to my problems, I had the third choice of running away. Though I say run away, there was no way I could have left Rokujima and gone somewhere else. But anyway, I wanted to run away from the mansion and my own self at that time. In a way, it was like a kid running away from home, or maybe a passive sort of suicide.
いなくなりたかったの。あるいは、いなくなることによって、親を心配させたいという子供なりの反抗だったのかも。私は、森の遥か奥に行けば、後ろ宮の家から逃れられる。あるいは、迷子になって心配させることで、仕返しができると、子供ながらに思ったの。
それで、行ってはいけないと言われていた森に？
ええ。浜辺へ出てから、海に沿うように。特に理由があったわけじゃないけれど、島をぐるりと回れば、その反対側には誰も知らない場所があって。
My question is, why didn't the wife ever do this? Right?
私だけの隠れ家になるような気がしたの。
浜辺からぐるっとってのは無理だな。途中で崖になっちまうだろ。あんなとこ通れるわけがねえぜ。
もちろんよ。だから通れる方へ通れる方へ、とにかく奥へ奥へ進んだわ。道なんかないひどい森だったけど、あの時の私にはそれが心地よかったの。それほどの険しい森を抜けたなら、その分後ろ宮家から逃れられるって。
情けないわね。
Okay, Ava.
成績で叱られたなら、その分努力すればいいのに。
それを言ってはいかんね。その代わり、ローザにはデザイナーとしての才能があったじゃないか。
Literally speaking, he was covering for Rosa. But everyone knew that Rosa's company hadn't been profitable.
よせよ。今は嫌味を言ってる場合じゃねえぜ。そして、偶然たどり着いちまったんだな。ベアトリーチェの隠し屋敷に。
Rosa nodded weakly.
どのくらい歩いたんや？
Oh, like she's gonna know?
地図で場所が示せるんか？
Oh. Well, this
ナツさん、この島の地図はあるかいな？
いえ、今ここにはありませんが。
Aren't you building shit on the island?
無理よ。適当に歩いただけだもの。地図を見せられたってわからないわ。
Yeah, it was like 20 years ago too, so.
それに、
Yeah,
あれか
thank
ら
you.
20年も経ってる。多分森へ行っても二度とたどり着けないわ。
Several people let out dejected sighs. It was vividly clear that in their haste, they thought some hint related to the witch's epitaph, or maybe even the gold itself might be resting there.
六軒島はこの屋敷の周りが整地されているだけに過ぎねえ。他は完全に未開で、前頭測量は相当の手間がかかるだろうな。
でも、確かに存在すると分かっただけでも収穫よ。お金はかかるだろうけど、例えば航空写真の会社に調査を頼むとか、
Homies, you ain't got
この屋
time.
敷を建設した業者に当時のことを聞くとか、調べる方法はあるかもしれないわね。そうね。
Huh.
早速調べる価値があるだろう。
その調査は兄弟合同でやるわよ。兄さん一人ではさせないわ。
It wasn't certain yet that the gold was hidden in that secret mansion, but the sparks seemed to have started flying between Kraus and Ava already.
兄貴たち、今はよせよ。ローザ、続きを話してくれ。
Oh yeah, I forgot. She killed her. Supposedly. Hello? Blindly, randomly, I kept running on and on. Suddenly came across something I thought was an animal trail. I was very tired and had no idea how far I walked, so at the time, naturally took the easiest path. As I did, suddenly right before my eyes was a very tall fence appear. It was a fence wonderfully adored in Gothic style. For an instant I thought I got and turned around and returned to the original mansion. Of course there were fences around the mansion to stop us from entering the forest, but this fence was decorated differently, and moreover it was very tall. It was probably reached up a full 2 stories. Wow, that's actually very tall. It was covered with ivy and created some mysterious, solemn atmosphere. At the time, I believed in the legend of the witch of the Forest Beatrice. I have been told that she was frightening, but some of the servants told me that she'd actually sometimes help you if you respected her. Since I had little confidence in those days, I believed the only way I could be saved was by receiving her help. That's why I thought what I did. I believed that this was the fence of the mansion belonging to Beatrice, the Witch of the Forest. I thought that if I could meet with Beatrice, she'd definitely save me. So I decided to try going in. But the fence was very, very tall, and it didn't look like I'd be able to get over it. So I chose to walk around it. Though, I thought that if I did, I'd eventually reach a gate. But it wasn't that easy. The fence had an incredible length to match its incredible height, and no matter how far I went, I didn't reach a corner. It might have encircled a massive area, or maybe it just had that impression because of my child's legs made it difficult to walk in the forest. Anyway, I couldn't find a gate for a while, and I started to feel sad, as though the witch had rejected me. As I did, I eventually came up on a large tree whose twisted root had bent the fence. It might get my clothes dirty, but if I crawled, it looked like I'd be able to sneak in.
そこが隠し屋敷だったの。あれが私たちの言う隠し屋敷なのかはわからない。でも少なくとも私たちの知る場所ではなかったわ。
Yeah, how many hidden mansions are there? It wasn't as though I came into a garden as soon as I passed the fence. I had to continue through a lot more uncultivated forests after that. I almost wonder if Maria's like the reincarnation of Beatrice or something. As I did, the forest suddenly opened up, and what appeared there was an unbelievably fantastical scene. To think that on Rokujima, where I had thought only we lived, there could be such a wonderful mansion hidden away. A beautiful flower garden spanned the front of the mansion. It was a flower garden of completely different design from the rose garden we knew so well, and it was so very lovely. Of course, the mansion was also wonderful. It was a couple sizes smaller than ours, but it was still elegant and adorable at the same time. Then I saw her figure. I saw her sitting in a garden chair positioned to the view of the flower garden, wearing an elegant dress. It was a black dress embroidered in gold that we would later know from that portrait. I hadn't seen an elegant dress like that except in fairy tales on the stage and on stage of musicals. For a person to be wearing it as normal clothes, that in itself seemed quite fantastical. That mysterious scene was enough to make me lose my sense of reality. If someone had told me that it was a dream, I might have nodded obediently and waited to wake up in my bed. I had forgotten to hide myself in shock, so she eventually spotted me. At first, her expression was quite listless, but when she noticed me, her eyes opened very wide. It was only natural considering that a guest she didn't know had suddenly appeared. I lowered my head automatically, planning to greet her and apologize for entering without permission.
そなたは誰か新しい庭師なのか
Those were the first two words she said to me. The first words. I grew slightly calmer, because I realized that we could talk to each other, because I hadn't been turned into a frog by just meeting her eyes, like a terrifying witch in a fairy tale.
ごめんなさい。勝手にお庭に立ち入って。すみません。そなたは誰か名乗るがよい。後宮ローザと言います。後宮。ほう、金蔵の一族の人間なのか？はい。金蔵の娘です。こんにちは。
I was a little surprised. After all, father was a great man feared by everyone, and yet she had spoken of him without using honorifics, so I was immediately terrified of her. After all, if she could refer to my fearsome father that way, she must be a witch with incredible power. After staring at me curiously, she beckoned me to come over. Frightened as I was, I obeyed. After all, I thought she might really turn me into a frog. The closer I got, the stronger that fear became. After all, as I kept saying over and over, that woman and her dress, and the flower garden and the mansion, that whole picture was so fantastical and beautiful that it seemed separate from reality. It probably wouldn't have surprised me at all to learn that she really was a witch. And I really was lucky. She hadn't turned me into a frog. As I awkwardly stood there, stock still, and she motioned into an open chair and urged me to sit down.
座るがよい。初めて訪れた者を庭へ招き、語らうのがわらわの唯一の楽しみよ。他に何の楽しみもないがな。
As she said this, she let an unhappy smile show for just an instant. But I was full of a strange mix of tension and excitement. I rudely asked her a question all of a sudden.
森の魔女、ベアトリーチェですか？いかにも、わらわがベアトリーチェである。
やはりな。ベアトリーチェは実在したんだ。
その姿は、まさに肖像画の。
ええ。まさに、あの肖像画の通りよ。
お父さんの想像の中の魔女じゃなかったんやな。
それで、あなたは彼女と何を話したの？
Barbies?
彼女は、お茶を入れながら、私のことをいろいろと聞いたわ。まず、森を抜けてやってきたことを驚かれた。彼女は、柵の外には危険な狼がたくさんいると信じていたみたいだった。だから、 私が森を抜けてたどり着いたと言ったら、とても驚いていたわ。どうやって狼から逃れたのか、ビスケットを渡して許してもらったのか、それとも魔法の街灯をかぶって、なんて感じのことを言ってたっけ。
そりゃ確かに魔女っぽいわな。面白いお人や。
あなた黙って。ずいぶん昔だけど、お父様は森には狼が住んでいるから近寄ってはならないって私たちを脅さなかった。
ああ、そんなこともあったな。バカらしいね。日本の狼はとっくの昔に絶滅しているというのに。まさに子供騙しだな。
記憶にねえな。そんな話、親父に聞かされたっけ？森には魔女だろ？狼なんて話、聞いたことないぜ。
あんたがまだ小学校だった頃よ。覚えてない？そしたらあんた、むしろ狼を撫でてみたいなんて言い出すもんだから。
Sounds like him.
お父様はすぐに狼の話を引っ込めて、魔女の話に切り替えたのよ。もう、その嘘っぽいことと言ったら。
当時のルドルフには、狼よりも魔女の話の方がてきめんだったね。よく覚えているよ。私の背中にしがみついた夜があったことを覚えているかね。
ルドルフさんにもそんな可愛らしい時代があったのね。
Oh?
うるせえな。子供の頃の話だぜ。
まあ、とにかく、ベアトリーチェを閉じ込めていたのがお父さんなら、同じ狼の話をするのは道理ね。彼にとって六軒島の広大な森は、後ろ宮家と愛人の屋敷という、相入れない二つの異世界を分断する、越えてはならない壁だったのだから。
柵の高さを考えると、どうやら親父殿は、庭ごと丸々を座敷牢にしたようだ
Does
な。
sound like that.
さながら、二つの世界を分ける国境も同然だったのだろう。
狼はともかく、野犬の類でもいたのではありませんか？そのための策だったかもしれません。
六軒島に狼も野犬もいないわ。その策は、兄さんやキリエさんの言うように、ベアトリーチェと私たちの間の国境だったんでしょうね。
しかし、狼の話を素直に信じるなんて、なんちゅうか、純朴
That's why it
や
makes sense
な。
that she was raised there as a baby
わしの想
homunculus.
像していた魔女とは随分違う感じやで。
そうね。それは私も感じたわ。とても尊大で、確かに魔女のイメージ通りの人だったんだけど、どこか、とても子供っぽくて、なんていうのか、素直すぎるというか、世間知らずな印象を受けたわ。例えるなら、本当におとぎの国の人みたいというか、本当に不思議な人だったわ。
それからどうしたんだ？親父の話とかは出たのかい？
ええ。何日かに一度。約束されている日もあれば、突然の日もあったそうだけど、ふらりとお父様が訪れては、一緒にお茶を飲んだり、散歩したりしたんですって。私が訪れたその日は、たまたま彼女一人だったと言っていたわ。
なるほどな。まさに愛人といったところだ。やれやれ。いくつ年下か知らんが、親父殿もやるね。
I don't think Natsu is going to take that well. called
か
it.
がわしい意味での交流はなかったと確信しています。
Okay.
バカね。男と女の多さに色気がないはずないじゃない。それでどうしたの？それから何の話を？
私の自己紹介をしたので、逆に彼女のことを質問したわ。そうしたら、急に雰囲気が落ち込んでしまったの。なんていうのか、とても気だるそうな、寂しそうな、私が初めて彼女の顔を見た時に浮かべていたのと同じ表情だった。
まあ、秘密の愛人だからな。好き勝手に歩かれて、お袋に見つかっちまったらことだ。きっと軟禁に近い状態だったろう。
Yeah. This is like the most grooming can be.
綺麗なドレスに、綺麗な屋敷や庭があっても、さぞや窮屈な思いをしてたんだろうぜ。そりゃ苦労もあったろうさ。それで？
彼女はきっと何か悩みがあった。それを私に話したところで何の解決にもならない。私もとても悲しかったのを覚えてる。私と一緒にいることさえ忘れてしまったかのようで、遠くをぼんやり見ながらずっと無言でいたわ。私はきっと失言してしまったに違いないと思ったんだけど、謝罪の言葉すらも口にしていいような雰囲気じゃなくて。だから私も彼女が私と一緒にいることを思い出してくれるまでずっと黙ってた。
And then she muttered unexpectedly.
柵の向こうには
本当に狼などおらぬのか？
はい。狼なんて動物園でも見たことないです。
動物園とは何か？
Dang.
いろんな動物が飼われているところです。象とかキリンとかパンダとか珍しい動物がいい。
動物園に狼はいないのか？
なら怖くないかもしれんな。狼がいたとしても動物はみんな檻に入ってますから安全です。だから安心して見学できるんですよ。
The mighty witch of the forest was apparently terrified of wolves. I remembered it looked pretty funny to me at the time.
それはわらわとどう違うのか。
She didn't know about zoos. I explained how fun zoos could be, but it was very difficult for a person like her who had never visited one to understand. On the contrary, as I explained it to her, her expression grew increasingly dismal. She couldn't see the difference. Apparently, even though she lived in an elegant mansion that was surrounded by a high fence and seemed to be lacking for nothing, she couldn't see how she was different from animals shut up in the cages. Yeah, it's the same
わらわは
thing.
何者なのか。皆はわらわのことをベアトリーチェと呼ぶ。それは確かにそなたの言うように偉大な魔女の名前らしい。しかしそれはわらわではないのだ。わらわには魔法など何も使えない。
Oh, wow. None?
その魔女の魂を好みに。
There's definitely something odd about her. Beyond just being cut off from the world, it seems she truly believed that magic exists. I think she talked about lots of weird things, but I don't remember the details. All I thought was that this might be a person to be pitied. She was unable to leave the mansion of her own free will, a prisoner without even realizing it, and she didn't know anything about the outside world, didn't even understand who she was. She probably vaguely realized that she was to be pitied, but since she didn't know anything, she seemed incapable of recognizing her own unhappiness. Long ago, when I told Nissan that I felt sorry for a bird in a cage, she said like this: "A bird that only knows about the inside of a cage doesn't long for the outside." But this wasn't a bird. This really was a person. Even though she'd never been outside the cage, she understood that there was more to the world. So, I invited her.
柵の外へ
Ooh.
出てみますか？
本当に狼はいないのか？
いないですよ。絶対平気ですから。
出たいぞ。だが、いつも門は閉まっている。
私が入ってきたところがあります。くぐり抜けられる隙間があるんです。
そこを抜ければ、外の世界があるのか？
はい。
狼は。
Man, she's really scared of wolves.
はい。来ませんよ。
I had only planned on inviting her to go on a short walk, but she kept looking over her shoulder at the mansion, as though she was seriously worrying over the decision. Then I learned that she was preparing herself for it.
わらわは、もうここは嫌だ。外へ出たい。そしてわらわが何者で、この世界はどうなっていて、わらわは何のために生まれてきたのかを知りたい。
And I don't know what her life had been like before. It was probably something she couldn't express easily. If it was harsh, she just had to say she wanted to escape. If it was sweet, she just had to stay. For example, maybe it was like a hot fireplace on a winter day. It makes the air get thicker and thicker, giving you a headache. Even though you know you shouldn't keep things the way they are, but you still need courage to open the window and be tormented by the cold wind. She was starting to realize that she couldn't stay there forever. She was starting to realize that she had to go outside someday. But since she didn't know about the outside world, she must have needed courage to take that unspeakable first step outside. And despite that, she made her decision. She voiced her decision to go outside, a decision she was probably making for the first time in her life. I hesitated for a moment. Father had decided that she should live there. She was like Father's beloved bird in a cage. If I just let her escape, Father might scold me harshly.
見たい。え？何を？
動物園が見たいのだ。
I was just a little surprised when she finally gave me a gentle smile. Could that have been a far-sightedness brought about her by the decision to venture out from her cage? It was a smile so gentle I couldn't imagine that it come from that one-starved face.
そなたと話すと知らないことばかり出てくる。わらわは学校なるものもわからぬし、動物映画館も知らぬ。遊園地も知らぬ。そしてそれを知りたいと心のそなたは
Sorry, guys.
わらわをそこへ連れて行ってくれるのか？
I was nervous about how I could keep it a secret from Father, but her face looked so happy, so I went along with her and nodded. But she seemed not to notice the meaning behind my vague smile. She seemed to believe that I'd really take her to all those places. She was pure and genuine. She'd probably never been tricked by anyone. No, maybe it's better to say that she never learned how to doubt. Her smile was somehow radiant and yet pathetic. I wanted to find a way to grant her modest wish.
わらわはもうベアトリーチェは嫌だ。わらわが何者なのか知りたい。ベアトリーチェではない新しい人間を始めたい。だからここから連れ出してほしい。もう紅茶もいらぬ。ドレスもいらぬ。金蔵とも二度と会わぬ。ここよりわらわを連れ出してくれ。ローザ。
However, that responsibility was one that a child like me couldn't hope to fully bear. Still, when I saw her serious gaze along with that bright smile that made it look as though a possessing spirit had left her, I could feel a little courage start to rise up inside me. This was definitely something that would get me into a lot of trouble, and yet it was definitely the right thing to do. I don't know how it'll turn out, but I'll take her away from here. Of course, I won't be able to talk to Father, and not Mother either. Should I talk to Oni-sama or Oni-sama? Or One-sama, sorry. No. What about reliable Genji-san? Oh, that's right. What about Kumasawa-san, who I always talk to when I'm in trouble? I'm sure they'll be able to do something. Probably not good to tell them. Anyway, for now I'll take her out of here. This was already a place she didn't want to be. So I took her to the crack in the fence and let her outside. She was all nervous, checking to make sure there were no wolves around. But once that fear disappeared, even just walking around this dense forest seemed to be fun somehow. Every time she found something, she'd ask me about it. And they were all really trivial things. What's that flower? What's that leaf? And that sound? And that smell? It was really like the inside of the fence had been her entire world, so now that she traveled beyond the limits of the world. It's strange. When I first saw her, I really thought she was the witch herself, relaxing inside the witch's mansion. But now it was different, or actually the complete opposite. She'd left a world in which she believed was finite, and was overjoyed at the realization that the world was endless, something she never thought of before. So everything she saw was new. It was almost as though she was the one who had been thrown into a fairy tale. If she was Alice, then I almost felt like a rabbit holding a watch. To her, it was probably a really fun walk, filled to the brim with excitement. But I was actually at a loss of what to do. After all, I walked randomly to get there. Of course, I didn't know the way back to our mansion. There were no lights in the forest, and I hadn't brought a flashlight. I realized it would be terrible if it got dark while we were still like this and grew impatient. She was too innocent, and apparently she couldn't understand at all how frightening it would be to face the night inside the forest. But I was not the one who brought her outside. I had to take responsibility somehow and resolve the situation. So I had a thought. Let's go out to the ocean for now. If we then follow the beach around, we should eventually make it back to the mansion. However, that was much more of a problem than I imagined. I didn't have a map or a compass. There was no way I could walk a straight line through an uncultivated forest, and I immediately lost my sense of direction. I already had no clue which trail I had come by, and I was completely lost. At this rate, night would definitely fall before I had a clue of where to walk. But this was no time to cry. After all, that woman following behind me was so innocent and having so much fun, so I definitely had to lead the way through this forest, for the sake of her smile as well. Gritting my teeth so that she didn't see me looking troubled, I pushed my way through the woods, advancing down a path that wasn't a path. No way this is going to end badly. Then after going through various troubles, I fortunately managed to reach the ocean. At the time, I still didn't have a clue of where I was on the island, but for the time being, I was just a little reassured, realizing that if we went around this way, we surely would be able to return to the mansion. However, though I reached the ocean, we were at the top of a rock cliff. That beach was far below us. I was tired from walking around the forest so long, so I figured that an open area, even a rocky beach, would be much easier to walk in. So I suggested that we go down a rocky cliff somehow. It looked pretty dangerous, but I figured there was no other way. However, Beatrice agreed to my plan without any doubts. Even though she was probably older than me, she meekly obeyed, almost as though she were some kind of chick who thought I was her mother. Oh my gosh, I already see where this is going. I searched to see if there's some part of the cliff I'd be able to get down. Then I found a place where the cliff had fallen over and managed to be a slope. It looked a little dangerous. The amount of times I said dangerous is a dead giveaway. But if I went down using both hands and both legs like crawling, I thought it'd probably be okay.
ここを降りましょう。気をつけないと危ないけど。とにかく海岸に降りて、あとは沿って歩けば、もう迷わずに済むと思うの。
ローザがそうするのならそうしようぞ。 わらわは迷うとやらも楽しいぞ。とても愉快だ。
She really had no sense of danger. There was probably no doubt that she lived a life without discomfort. Even though she knew it would get dark when night fell, she couldn't imagine how dangerous the inside of the forest could be without a light. Furthermore, it seemed that she couldn't even grasp how dangerous it might be if she fell from the cliff. I warned her repeatedly to be careful. I cautiously examined our potential route. It seemed to be quite a long drop. I think it might have been about 10 meters down. Okay, that... If you look at it from the bottom up, it would probably look shorter than the roof of the mansion. But if you look at it from the top, it almost felt like staring down at the observation room on the Tokyo Tower. But Beatrice still to be completely without fear. It felt as though she had never been taught that high places were dangerous. No, maybe she believed she was a witch, and that she could fly, so there wasn't any need to worry.
気をつけてくださいね。結構高いから。
うん。気をつけるぞ。下へ降りたら海があるな。そこに水族館があるのか。
Definitely not.
いえ、この島には水族館はないですよ。でも、海にはたくさんの魚がいると思います。
そうか。
If a random wolf came and just ate her, I would
魚はいるのか。
have to laugh.
そなたが話してくれた、クジラとかイルカとかペンギンとかはいるのか。
いえ、そういうのは水族館に行かないといないです。水族館は島を出ないとないですよ。
そうなのか。だが楽しみだ。クジラとはどんな魚なのか。
すっごく大きな魚で、あれ？哺乳類かな？それで潮を吹いたりします。
ほう。ならばイルカは？
頭のいい魚で、あれ？これも哺乳類だっけ？とても頭が良くて芸とかを覚えられるんですよ。
ならばペンギンはどうなのか。
あれ、これは鳥類だっけ？
So none of them are actually fish?
なんだ、水族館なのにさっきから魚が出てこんぞ。
まあその魚だけでなくいろいろな海の生き物がいっぱいいるんですよ。
ほほー、それはとても楽しみだ。
She let out what might have been a funny, rushed short cry. No, it was probably a scream. It came right out of the blue. Her body separated from the cliff and silently fell. I immediately wanted to say something to her. I wanted to say, "Didn't I tell you to be more careful?" It was the thought of a child. It was how a child immediately gets mad when something bad happens, trying to find an excuse to show it wasn't their fault. Of course, I said it out loud. "Are you okay? Didn't I warn you over and over?" Well...
それで崖から落ちてどうなったんだ。
彼女はどうしたんだ、ローザ。
Rosa fell silent. Her gaze dropped to her feet, as though she was seeing through the floor into some disgusting memory.
死んだのね。
Ava's brutal words were the ones Rosa wanted to avoid the most. And when she was hit with them, she screamed in resignation. The thing is, like, if you look at this, like, I guess I'm trying to look at it as a glass half full. At least, like, she was miserable. At least the moments before her death, like, she was having fun for the first time.
岩浜だったもの。尖った危険な岩がたくさんむき出しになっていた。目を見開いたまま、すごい血が溢れ出して、 たちまち真っ赤な絨毯を広げていった。
That'd be traumatizing.
声をかけたわ、揺さぶったわ。でも彼女は返事はおろか、瞬きすらも。私が悪いのよ。彼女はドレス姿だったのよ。あんな動きにくい格好なのを知っていたのに、私は
Oh yeah.
歌舞伎を踊るような
I
って
didn't
言っ
even
て
think
しま
about
ったから。
how hard it would be to
彼女
lose
は
them.
すごい素直だったから、私の言うことに何の疑いもせずに従って。
I mean, you're in middle school, so you kind of get a pass, but
いつまで死んでいるつもりか。いい加減に目を覚ませ。まったく、わらわの預かり知れぬところで勝手に肉塊に姿を変えようって。
oh, Battler, he is killed by.
おめえのとこの太もも姉ちゃんとイチャついてただけだぜ。それより、これはどういうことだ？
うん。見たままよ。わらわは足を踏み外して転落し、死んだ。
なんだ
And died in quotations.
19人目として登場しておきながら、死んだだと？ふざけるな！そんなわけはない！ローザおばさんは子供だったし、焦ってた。医者がいたわけでもない。多分、死んだと誤解しただけで、お前は多分、仮死状態か何かで生きていたんだ。そうだろ。
She's gonna answer in red. $10. It can't be true. She's gotta be alive. Otherwise, how could she be here? The kid-age Rosa shook Beatrice's body, crying. I stared into that face too, but her eyes were still open and it was really a corpse. I wanted to dodge the issue by saying something vague like she must be playing dead, but no matter how I looked at it, it didn't look fake at all. It really did look like she was dead. Beatrice had fallen upside down from a cliff at that height, and her head was smashed against the pointed tip of one of those rocks. Yeah, you probably would die after landing on those rocks from that height on your head, but I couldn't accept it. No matter how dead she looked, she had to be alive. And then she went on to become this damn irritating witch. That all makes the inconsistencies fit. It would. Grandfather must have kept her confined constantly in a hidden mansion. Then, to take revenge for that, she committed several atrocious murders. Aunt Rosa probably just mistakenly thought she was dead, but she was actually alive as soon as Aunt Rosa left, would miraculously breathe again. Then she somehow lived on until today and opened the curtain on her revenge drama. Otherwise, the facts don't fit together. Well, you could think this was from 19 years ago, I believe. He could just make another homunculus, technically.
そう簡単には騙されねえぞ。赤で復唱できるか？確かに死んだと。どうせ生きてるんだろ？見え見えだぜ。
それのどこが生きているように見えるというのか。
Battler has...
間違いなく死んでいる。
It's definitely dead. Interesting wording. My theory that the 19th person was grandfather's mistress, a human Beatrice, had been defeated. I had planned to strike back from a defensive position, but...
なら、お前は何者だってんだ？お前はたった今、死んだんだろうが。まさか魔法で蘇ったとか言い出すんじゃねえだろうな。
すでに説明したと思うがな。そこに倒れているわらわは確かに魂はわらわだが、その体はわらわを写し終えつなぎ止めておく肉の檻に過ぎなかったと。そしてその肉の檻がこうして壊れた。それがどういうことかわかるか？
It means it lets the spirit run free, right?
もうさっぱりだぜ。好きなだけ魔女っ子トークに興じろよ。チャカの代わりに聞いてやら。なんだ、空っぽか。おい、紅茶のおかわりを頼むぜ。
ロノウ、客人が紅茶をお望みだ。
Oh, my homie. When Beato clapped her hands, Ronov appeared. Butlers sure are convenient.
おかわりですね。かしこまりました。どの程度お継ぎしましょうか。
どうせチャカがボリューム満点だろうからよ。半分でいいぜ。
それでもなみなみとお入れするのが英国式でございますよ。
Even though just enough to wet my throat would have been fine, he filled it to the top. I turned back to Beato, sipping it in silence.
ちょっと目を覚ましてよ。
Ooh, does Beatrice go inside of Rosa? Rosa shook me. No, shook the corpse that had once been me. I watched over her from a short distance away. Ah, so I fell from there and died. For a while I believed that was true. I saw Rosa spending a long time beside my corpse, then I watched her as she ran away. Eventually I realized that I was the different individual from that corpse.
そうか。わらわか。ようやく金蔵の戒めから逃れられたのか。
Eventually I felt the memory returning. The fact that I was an endless witch who had lived for 1,000 years. Then I remembered that I had been summoned by Kinzo, and that I had been imprisoned by him for a long time. While being imprisoned in a cage of flesh, I completely lost my memory as a witch. However, thanks to Rosa, if you could say that, thanks to my accidental death, I now finally regained myself.
ローザ、そなたはわらわを死なせてしまったと後悔しているだろうが。
Yeah, that's like the best thing that could have happened to her.
感謝したいくらいよ。
I couldn't see Rosa anymore. Did she go to call a doctor, or was she so terrified she ran away? It no longer matters. That solar shell cell no longer have any value. And yet, I'm so frail now. Even this glorious midday sun is agonizing to me. I destroyed my human form. Then I changed into several gold butterflies. Yes, with my magical powers as frail as it is now, this form is easier to maintain. To escape even a little light from the sun, I rode the wind and gently flew up the side of the cliff. It will probably be a bit cooler in the forest. Anyways, I'll take some time to recuperate and regain my former power, as I ponder how to make Kinzo pay up all he owes me. Dancing alone through the air, I looked down on the shore one more time. On the rocky shore I lay, the figure what had once been me, the figure I would eventually regain. To regain the form of that physical body I had thrown away, it would probably take more than 100, 200 days. And it might require 1,000 days, or perhaps even more. However, I am the Endless Witch, the Golden Witch who has lived more than 1,000 years. Waiting any countable number of days would be no problem. Ha! Oh, Kinzo. Regret that you are not here now. No longer will you be able to capture me. Ha!
「それで、お前は黄金の蝶に姿を変え、森の中に潜んで魔力が回復するのを待った。ってのか？
そういうことだ。そなたを嘲笑するためにこの姿を取るが、本来は蝶たちの姿でいた方が魔力的には楽なのだ。
無理しねえで楽な格好で嫌がれよ。ムカつく笑い声を聞かずに済むぜ。
蝶に姿を変え、森に紛れたわらわを探し出すことなど、もはや金蔵には不可能なこと。だが、金蔵も指を加えているわけではなかった。しかし、わらわを捕らえる方法は、すぐに用意はできぬ。そのため、まずはわらわをこの島から逃さぬ方法。
Was that what the mirror did?
そして、わらわが力を取り戻すことがないよう、即座に手を打ったの。やれやれ。とにかく金蔵の執念深いことと言ったら、想像を絶する。あれに惚れられるのも、なかなかに辛いものだぞ。
蝶になったお前を逃がさない方法？なんだよ。森全体に蚊帳でも張っとったのかな。
うん。それを魔法的に行ったのだ。そなたは知っておるか？船着き場の先の洋上に岩礁が浮かび、そこに小さな東洋魔術の祠があることを。
ああ、あれか。今年はなくなってたけどな。昔、修験者が作ってったとかいう祠なんだろ？
六軒島は元来、歪みのある島でございます。魔力的な存在や、それに類した存在を引きつけます。お嬢様も、そんなうちのお一人でございましょうね。
So I used to live in a city in Kansas. It's called Atchison, Kansas, and it's one of the most haunted, like towns in America. And they say because there's so much, like, not witchcraft, but like ghosts and all of that stuff, that, like, for some reason they're like attracted to that area. So I don't know. It was kind of creepy, some of those houses.
紅茶のおかわりはいかがですか？
いただこうぞ。それらは人間たちに害をなし、おそらく数々の不気味なる伝承を残してきたであろう。それを聞きつけた東洋魔術師が古代に設けたのがあの祠なのだ。長い時間を経て、その力は失われておった。金蔵はそれを修復することで、島の結界を蘇らせ、わらわを再び島に
西洋魔女のお前に、東洋の魔法なんて通じるのかよ。
本来は相性が悪い。しかしわらわを封じたいという目的においては、ある意味都合が良かっただろうな。わらわも、西洋魔術であれば、心得がある。どのような結界であっても、何かの手が打てたであろう。しかし、東洋魔術は専門外よ。わらわが飲まんとするスープに対し、スプーンではなく箸を与えられたようなものだ。
東洋魔術が強く支配する空間では、西洋魔術はひどく力を失います。ただでさえ、千日はかけたであろう力を取り戻す時間を、さらに長くかけねばならなかったのです。
それで、約20年かけて魔力を取り戻し、今こうして蘇ったって言いたいのか？
辛く長い年月であった。わらわは黄金の蝶の姿のまま、長く日々を送り、金蔵の屋敷を見つけ、奴の日常を見守った。どのように仕返しをしてやろうか。それを思案することだけを、日々の楽しみに生きてきた。わらわにとって幸運だったのは、その間の20年間。金蔵はわらわを探し出し、捕らえるあらゆる秘術に、ことごと人間に起こせる奇跡の数など、たかが知れている。 わらわをあれだけ長く捉えていただけでも、十分に身に過ぎた奇跡だ。そう何度も捉えられてはたまらぬわ。
じいさまが前のゲームだかで言ってたな。魔法は確率的奇跡に宿る。みたいなことをよ。
うん。金蔵はわらわを再び捕らえる秘術を探るうちに、そこに行き着いたのだ。そして、13人の生贄を捧げることで、わらわを再び蘇らせる儀式を、ついに編み出したのだ。
13人の。
The best is that he uses his own fucking family members and servants.
それが魔女の碑文。生贄の歌でございます。第一の番に6人。第二の番に2人。そして、第4の番から第8の番にかけて5人。合計13人の生贄を捧げる。禁じられた儀式。その生贄はランダムに決められ、儀式を執り行う金蔵自身も例外にはなりません。
バカ野郎。この島で起こったあの凄惨な殺人が、全部、おかしな儀式だって言うのかよ。
I'd had a vague idea that might be the case, but I couldn't just hear that was true from a witch and a demon and say, oh really? And accept it.
六軒島には18人いる。13人が生贄に捧げられ、5人だけが生き残る。そしてわらわは蘇る。つまり、金蔵がわらわに再び会える確率は、だいたい3分の1といったところか。その確率に自らの命を落とし、残りわずかな寿命の最後の一瞬に、わらわとの再会を望んだのだ。
そのふざけた儀式のために、俺たち親族が集められたってのかよ。ふざけやがって。いい加減なことを抜かすんじゃねえ。
Do you really think your grandfather wouldn't do something like that?
もとより契約の通りだ。金蔵の生を終えるとき、貸し与えた黄金と、そして金蔵が生み出した財産のすべてを、わらわがもらい受けることになっておる。金蔵には散々に英雄を飲まされたが、今となっては、この1000年でも稀な時間だった。何しろ、魔女の天敵は退屈よ。それから逃れることのできる数十年間を提供した金蔵には、なるほど。それも含めて借りがあるやもしれぬ。
A plan and was able to be
わ
focused
らわ
on
は
getting
金蔵の
revenge.
ゲームに乗ることにした。そしてまず、金蔵は、後ろ宮家当主の指輪をわらわに返却する。わらわの黄金で復興させた家だからな。そして、13人の生贄を気まぐれに決めるのだ。そしてその過程で、お前たちが右往左往し、わらわに立ち向かおうと様々な人間模様を見せてくれることは、わらわにとって非常に愉快なことだ。わらわはこの金蔵のゲームを実に気に入っている。
ああ！そんな魔法話は絶対信じねえぞ。じゃあお前は誰なんだ？お前は崖から転落して死んだんだろうが、魂が抜け出して蝶になって森へ？そんなのあるわけねえだろうが。
Yeah, that's...
だがお前はここにいる。誰だってんだ？お前こそが19人目じゃねえのかよ。
そうであるな。わらわこそが19人目であろうな。だがダメだぜ。 全然ダメだ。この六軒島に19人以上の人間は存在しない。
This is gonna be... What does that even mean? This. I think there's gonna be a key.
なんだってってことは、18人プラス X の X は存在しないってのかよ。俺が取ったコマ X は存在しないってのかよ。
そういうことになります。実にご愁傷様ですよ。
Wait a second. She doesn't... Was that humans? Okay. She doesn't consider... furniture humans, right? So... Or the servants are furniture, they're not human. So that could be a key to this.
しかし、お嬢様は手がお早いですな。もう少し泳がせて、最後にひっくり返すものとばかり思っておりました。さてバトラ様、紅茶のおかわりはもう結構ですか？
いらねえよチキショー。俺は信じないぞ。18人の中に犯人がいるわけねえ。じゃあお前は何なんだよ。どうしてここにいるんだよ。
She already told you what she's gonna tell you on
19人目
that.
が存在しないってんなら、お前は18人の誰かの変装だって言うのかよ。
That's also a possibility.
そなたにとってしぶしぶとではあっても、18人の誰かを疑うことが最後の逃げ道、キャスリングとなるであろうな。しかしわらわはここからが難しいのだ。そなたはなりふりさえ捨てれば、18人もの人間を自在に犯人に仕立て上げられる。その18人の駒をくぐり抜け、わらわを認めさせチェックメイトに至るのは実に難しいことよ。
そんなことするもんか。18人の誰も疑わない。疑いたくない。またここに追い込まれちまったのか。
Kinda have to, but
チクショー。
unless you don't consider furniture humans. Because that's... How many servants are there? Shannon, Genji, Kumasawa, Cannon, who's the one? Goda. So that's 5 I can think of right off the top of my head. That could add a lot more people to this. So she doesn't consider them... She doesn't consider furniture human, then you have 23 people, right?
三度に及んだそなたとのゲームもいよいよ終盤戦のようではないか。もう逃げ場はないぞ。お前の大好きな18人を疑いたくないだろう。わらわがそれをかぶってやるぞ。なのになぜわらわを拒むのか。序盤は本のように、中盤は魔術師のように、そして終盤は機械のようにさせとな。これより詰めるぞ。ゆっくりじっくり確実にな。
She's not that careful. She does leave herself
いや、そ
open,
れとも
especially towards the
そなたにふさわ
end.
しく一気に畳みかけるのが良いのか。そなたにはそれが似合うだろう。すでにそなたの苦手とする攻め方も知り抜いておるわ。
He is kind of in a shit situation here, though. What, are they going to kill off some people right now? I was like, what's going on? Oh, is that midnight? Let's get it. I'm trying to figure out like what crazy death Beatrice probably did this time. These fools are all dead. Rosa will be the only one to survive again, probably. I wouldn't be surprised. It's just easy when all those siblings are right next to each other. Oh, here we go. Is he gonna start yelling for Beatrice? Aw, man. This is really a long interlude right here. What achievement did I get? What?
さて、この度のゲームはどう転ぶのか。委ねるもよし、抗うもよし。いずれにせよ、わしに残されたわずかの命をトスに値する実に楽しい宴よ。
In his dimly lit study, occasionally brightened by lighting, Kinzo kept mumbling and laughing to himself. On the antique clock and the intricate design had been sitting on his desk, the two overlapping hands tilted over the right and began to slide. The measure of time counted up to 24 and had turned to 0, and it began to count back again.
時の刻みとは残酷なものよ。24を数えるために1日をかけてたどり着き、そして再び0に戻る。23時59分までは確かに数えただろう。しかし、24時にたどり着くことはできたのだろうか。
Oh, that's kind of an interesting way to look at it.
たどり着けず、再び0時に戻ったと考えれば、それはなんとも虚しいことよ。
But perhaps a person's life is the same. You live aiming for the perfect 24, and the instant you reach it, you return to 0. People will probably praise departed, saying that he did reach 24, but he almost certainly did not. In the end, he's a 0.
わしは違うぞ。わしは生きて24にたどり着く。
Okay, dude.
そここそが黄金鏡。ベアトリーチェの住処なのだから。
I mean, you kind of imprisoned her, so I don't know why you think she's gonna be, like, all about you, but whatever. Kinzo had been fumbling around with some tarot cards for some time. It looked as though he was trying to divine his own luck with a contest, doing it over every time he didn't like the result. The most forbidden action in tarot card reading is trying to predict the same thing twice. To do so ridicules the results of fortune telling, and it also desecrates those beings higher than humans that give revelations through tarot cards. However, Kinzo knew tarot cards shouldn't be used twice because they're nothing more than a random number generator. Reading them twice will naturally cause a different result to appear. Therefore, reading them twice was only forbidden to preserve the mystique of the tarot cards as results. However, that didn't mean that Kinzo didn't take the tarot card reading seriously. Kinzo's interpretation of tarot card reading was done in a completely different way. That was to repeat the reading over and over without giving up in the slightest until he reached the result most favorable to him. Kind of like Rika. The mark he set for the most favorable result would vary, but when he demanded the most favorable result in a strictly literal sense, it was the same as a simple roulette of luck where he seeked an arithmetic miracle. However, Kinzo used miracles of numbers as the basis of his magical power, so this functioned perfectly well as a magical ritual. In other words, until the result he desired appeared perfectly, he would strive to repeat the tarot card readings over and over with conviction, turning that feeling of his heart into prayers. So that, when they reached the heavens, they would be sublimated into results. This was Kinzo's personal magical interpretation. Therefore, even Kinzo's tarot cards were no different from those generally used. The way in which they were used was completely different.
今宵は思い通りにならぬな。
Kinzo stopped his hands for a second. He seemed not to be getting the results he wanted. On the contrary, bad cards that shouldn't show up so often appeared repeatedly, and continued to interfere with the miracle Kinzo wished for.
そういうことなのか。
Kinzo seemed to have received some revelation that was different from normal, but judging by the unlucky cards scattered across his deck, it was difficult to imagine that the omen would be a good one. For a while, Kinzo closed his eyes tightly, pondering something. Then, as the thunder roared, he made up his mind about something, took the telephone receiver and dialed.
わしだ。源氏はおるか。至急だ。
Alright, I'm going to stop here because I was going for quite a while and it looks like a bunch of stuff's about to happen. So I will get into that in the next episode. But yeah, this was really good. Got an in-depth thing of Beatrice as a homunculus. Rosa met her. She ended up falling to her death. But that actually kind of allowed Beatrice's body to escape. She says there's only 18 humans on this Rokunjima. What does that mean exactly? Does she count servants, which she refers to as furniture, as humans in this? Probably not. What does this Rokunjima mean too? I don't know. But super excited for this, and guys, let me know what you thought about the episode in the comments below.